Welcome to The Explainer. You know, when you think about archaeology, you probably picture someone carefully brushing dirt off an old pot, right? Well, that's still part of it, for sure. But today, we're diving into something totally different. We're looking at how artificial intelligence is becoming one of the most powerful tools in the field, and it's completely changing the game for how we find and understand our own history.
So let's just start with the big question, the one that sounds like it's straight out of a movie. Can a computer really find a lost city? It sounds a bit like science fiction, doesn't it? But as we're about to see, AI is already an incredible tool for peering back in time, and honestly, the results are, well, they're staggering.
Okay, so how does this actually work? Well, a lot of it starts from way up high, from the air. You see, AI is giving archaeologists this amazing ability to scan huge, sometimes totally inaccessible landscapes from the sky, and it's revealing secrets that have been hiding in plain sight for centuries. So, what's with this number 303? Well, get this. That's not the number of sites found over a decade or even a year. That is the number of brand new geoglyphs, those massive ancient drawings carved into the earth, that an AI-powered survey just found in the Nazca region of Peru. To put that in perspective, they nearly doubled the number of known figures, and they did it in a tiny fraction of the time it would have taken before. And this isn't just happening in Peru, not by a long shot. This is a global thing. I mean, look at Turkey. Drone imagery helped uncover a massive 4-kilometer-long castle complex. Or over in Kazakhstan, an aerial surveys spotted about 150 unique burial mounds, totally rewriting what we thought we knew about the ancient societies there. The scale of these discoveries is just, wow, it's incredible. So one of the key pieces of tech making all this possible is called LiDAR. Now, what is that? Well, think of it like this. You mount this thing on a plane or a drone, and it shoots millions of laser pulses down at the ground. It's like sonar, but with light. This creates this super precise 3D map of the surface. And here's the real magic. It can digitally see through stuff like dense rainforest canopies, revealing entire cities that have been hidden under the trees for centuries. It's a total game changer. Okay, so finding huge structures from the sky is one thing, and it's amazing. But AI isn't just about the big picture. It's also giving us these incredible tools to zoom way in, to read things that were thought to be completely unreadable, and to unlock knowledge that we were pretty sure was lost to history forever. All right, check this out. The Herculaneum scrolls. These are ancient texts that got basically cooked into charcoal lumps when Mount Vesuvius erupted. You can't unroll them, they just crumble into dust. So what do? First, scientists use high-powered X-rays to get a 3D scan of the whole lump. But then, and this is where the magic happens, an AI model comes in. It's trained to spot these microscopic, subtle differences in texture between the ancient carbon-based ink and the carbonized papyrus it's written on. And once it finds the text, the final step is to digitally flatten it all out. They call it virtual unwrapping, and it's letting us read ancient Greek philosophy for the first time in nearly 2,000 years. It's just mind-blowing. And it goes even a step further. It's not just about reading damaged texts anymore. Now, AI is actually learning to translate ancient languages all on its own. There are these incredible projects, like one called the Babylonian Engine, that use machine learning to translate ancient Akkadian cuneiform straight into English. Think about that. The entire library of Mesopotamian culture is suddenly becoming more accessible than it has ever been. Okay, so we've talked about all these amazing breakthroughs, but it's not all magical discoveries and instant translations. We have to look at the reality behind the hype, because using AI in archaeology is way more complex than the headlines make it seem, and there are some really serious challenges the field is trying to figure out right now. So the first big challenge is actually an ethical one. You've seen those headlines, right? Lost city found? They're super exciting, but there's a problem. That kind of language often erases decades of earlier research. And even more importantly, it carries this kind of colonial baggage. It totally ignores the fact that for the local and indigenous communities who live there, these places were never lost. So figuring out how to talk about these discoveries responsibly is becoming a really critical issue. Now, on the technical side, you might think the biggest problem is building a smart enough AI, but that's not it. The single biggest hurdle is something called the data bottleneck. See, AI models are hungry. They need huge amounts of high-quality labeled data to learn from. And in a field like archaeology, that kind of data is just really, really scarce. This bottleneck is what's really holding back progress across the board. So because of this data problem, we're seeing AI and archaeology kind of split into two different tracks. On one side, you have what you could call generalist AI. This is for the more common, everyday tasks, like sorting thousands of pottery fragments. Progress here is pretty slow, precisely because it's so hard to get those massive, standardized datasets. But then you have the other track, bespoke AI. This is for the really unique, high-profile challenges, like those Herculaneum scrolls we talked about. These projects tend to get a lot of funding, so they can afford to build their own custom datasets from scratch. And that's where you see these incredible headline-grabbing breakthroughs.
So, given all these challenges, what's the path forward? Well, the really great thing is that the archaeological community isn't just blindly adopting this tech. They're actively working to build a responsible framework to make sure it's used in the right way. And a huge part of that effort is something called the MAIA network. This is a big deal. It's an international group with over 250 experts from more than 30 countries, all working together. And their goals are pretty clear. First, fix that data bottleneck by pushing for open, shareable data sets. And second, hammer out the ethical guidelines to make sure everyone is using this powerful technology responsibly. All of this is leading to what most people agree is the future for AI in this field, a model called human in the loop. And the concept is simple. The AI is not there to replace the archaeologist. Not at all. It's a powerful partner. Think of it this way. The AI does all the heavy lifting, like sifting through terabytes of satellite images or 3D scans, and then it flags the most interesting possibilities. But it's the human expert who comes in to do the critical thinking, the interpretation, and to make the final call.
Okay, so let's quickly wrap this up. What are the big things to take away here? First, AI is an incredible accelerator, but it's not a magic discovery button. Second, the biggest roadblock isn't the AI itself, it's that data bottleneck. Third, the future isn't robots taking over, it's a human-in-the-loop collaboration. And finally, and this is so important, how we talk about this stuff and the ethics behind it are absolutely crucial.
When you step back and think about it, this technology is giving us a truly unprecedented way to decode the story of humanity. A story that's written in ruins and on ancient, fragile scrolls. And that leaves us with a really profound question to think about. As we get better and better at using AI to read our past, what kind of story is it going to help us write for our own future?